Now, what is the rich text field? Remember we were able to add some color, bold and italics, and underline, and add a URL. Add a URL to it. So is that similar to, let's say, the job title field? No different, right? We had more options. So the job title would be a text field. But the job description field that we had used, we could put in a lot of formatting and colors and URLs, etc. That is a rich text kind of field, because you can put in some formatting in the text. So that is a rich text. Those type of fields are also available in Workday. The prime example is the job description field. Numeric. What data will a numeric field contain? Numbers, right? Numbers, so a numeric field will contain numbers. Now I will also try to draw some what to say the icons that you would see. So for a text field, you would see the word T next to it. Okay. On the name of the field, you will see the word T. Again for rich text also, you will see the word T next to it. In numeric, you will see the symbol hash. Right. Hash. This denotes that a particular field is of type numeric. That means it will contain numbers. A currency. What is a currency field? Yes, it also has a currency symbol in addition to the numeric part. So it is a number and a currency. So currency fields are denoted by the $sign. Right. If you look at the field, if you see the icon dollar next to the field, that means it denotes it is a currency field. Okay. Then we have the date field. Where did we see date fields? Hire date, effective date, terminated date. Reorganization date. Availability date, earliest hire date. Everywhere we saw dates. So Workday stores the date information in a date field. In a date field, and if we look at the date field, it looks like this. There will be a calendar icon. So it will be a square. And then I'm not sure if I will be able to draw it correctly. So you would see something like this. Okay. So you will see something like this. It will look like a calendar. So if you look at this particular icon next to a field, that means it will be a date kind of field. Right. Time. Hours, minutes, and seconds, and milliseconds. Right. The time. That will be different. Correct. So in the time, I forgot the symbol for time, but because I've not worked with the time fields a lot, I mostly work with date fields. But still, we can find it out and we can check it out for ourselves. So there is an icon for time fields as well. The time fields will contain data in the format hours, minutes, and seconds. Write hours, minutes, and seconds, and you can configure the format. But it is definitely different from the date field. Now there are certain fields which are categorized as a date and time zone. What is that? A date and time zone. It varies from country to country, correct? So what is the time zone? And why is it important? So whenever we say a time or a date and a time, we should also specify the time zone. Right. So let's say, okay, we are going to have a meeting at 8 a.m. tomorrow. 8 a.m. What time? Which time zone? Right. You may be logging in at your 8 a.m. in the morning, which may not be what we had agreed upon. Right. So when we specify the date and time, especially in a global environment, we have to specify the time zone as well. Now time zone is not the time. It is just an additional data that tells. That gives you more information about the date and time. Right, and how does the time zone look like? What does that information look like? Time zone. It also gives you like the location. I mean it has a location part which makes it meaningful. It also tells you how many hours it is ahead or behind the Greenwich Mean Time. The GMT. Right, it tells you, okay, a time zone looks like this. GMT plus 5 hours 30 minutes India. Right. That means that it is ahead of the GMT by 5.5 hours and it is used in India. GMT minus 6, New York. Right. Maybe it is also given a name, Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Summer Time. Eastern Time, US time. So it will give you a description and it will also tell you about the difference with the GMT. Right, that is the time zone. It is not the date. It is not the time. But we use it to better describe the date and time. Right. Okay. What is a Boolean field? True or false? It can contain either of two values. Either true or false. Either yes or no. Either 0 or 1. So they are only like that, true or false. True or false kind of fields are called Boolean fields. Right. So a Boolean. The symbol of a Boolean is T, F. Something like this. True pipe false. That is the symbol of the Boolean field. If you see a field like this, you immediately know it is a Boolean field. Okay. Now comes some specific types of fields which are specific to Workday. Single instance, multi-instance, self-referencing instance. Now a single instance field. Now, whenever we see these terms instance, the instance fields, they are actually linked to other data. Instance. Write these three types of fields. They are complex fields. They are complex fields. Okay. They do not contain any data themselves, but they are pointers to other places, to other data. Okay, they are links to other data. Since Workday is organized using business objects. So that is why we will see these kind of fields a lot, these instance kind of fields where it will be linked to other data objects. A single instance. What does that mean? That it can occur only once in relation to another object. Like, let's say, the location of the worker. Is it single instance or is it multi-instance? The location of the worker. That is a single instance. Now think about the first line manager. Is it a single instance or a multi-instance? But typically your direct manager is single instance. But okay, think about this one. The superior organization of a supervisory organization. The immediate superior organization of a supervisory organization. Will that be single instance or single instance? Because a supervisory organization can have only one superior organization. Correct. So that will be a single instance field. Now what is an example of a multi-instance field? Think about the number of dependents of a worker. Will that be single instance or multi-instance? Number of dependents of a worker. It can be multi-instance, right? Because the worker may not have any dependents. The worker may have one dependent. The worker may have more than one dependent as well. Right. Spouse and children and parents and so on. So the possibilities are endless. So you may have no dependents. You may have one dependent. You may have multiple dependents. Correct. So that is an example of a multi-instance field. The number of expense reports created by a worker. Will that be a single instance or multi-instance? The number of expense reports created by a worker. Multi-instance, right, because one employee, one worker may create multiple expense reports. So yes, that would be a multi-instance. So a single instance looks like this. Let me see if I can draw it correctly. So there will be a big circle. Okay. And then there is a small circle like this. Right, and then there is a link between the two. So it looks like this. This is one object. This is another object. And it is linked. So this is a single instance. There is a single relationship between these two objects. Now a multi-instance, the icon looks a little bit different. But it clearly depicts. I will draw a big diagram so that it is easy for me to draw. So a multi-instance looks like this.